Wow, we got some good news for sequel fans here, and primarily, even though I'm not a sequel fan, I do think that John Boyega deserved a lot better in the film, especially as how they kind of clickbaited him to be appearing as a Jedi, and then they just kind of reduced him to, Rey the whole time. And then, shrinking his image in the poster for China was just a lot of reasons as to why John Boyega would be disinterested in returning as Finn in the Star Wars franchise. And as we know, John Boyega has said many times that he doesn't want to return to Star Wars. Even on tweets, you can find them all over Twitter, where people have been like, are you going to come back to Star Wars? He's like, lol, no thank you. Or he says, I don't want to play the same character for such a long period of time. I want to do some other things. And I can see how he would feel that way after, everything that happened with his character. And him being, an actual major Star Wars fan, including liking the prequels, which is great. So anyways, there's a lot of different articles that are covering this overall story. And it's not really concrete, but I guess there is some evidence to it, I suppose. So let's go ahead and talk about it. I want to give my take on it too. Speaking on the latest episode of The Hot Mic with Jeff and John, Snyder confirmed that the aforementioned actor is no longer a part of the project. He said this is due to the rewrites happening into the film. So the information here comes from a podcast, I believe, called The Hot Mic with Jeff and John. And co-host of the podcast, John Roca, jumped in at this point and said he's heard from two separate and reliable sources that Kathleen Kennedy and John Boyega have buried the hatchet after having a few conversations earlier in the year, and that he is coming back for the new film. This may have sounded impossible a few months ago when he told Sirius X, at this point, I'm good. I feel like the sequel trilogy was good for me. However, right before Celebration, his thoughts had softened up, and he even said that he felt more comfortable with Finn's portrayal in J.J. Abrams' movies. He told the Times of London. And here's his quote. For me, Star Wars has made the man. In a sense, the experiences, the fun times, good times, ugly times, bad times, it makes you who you are as you navigate through the industry. And that has definitely been interesting. I feel like the arc that JJ tried to tie up, that's where I feel comfortable with the release of him. And since then, I've been able to enjoy, as a fan, The Mandalorian and Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm enjoying the balance of all things. So it seems like he's a little more optimistic about Star Wars and his character as a whole. I remember there were some interviews that he had, some major ones, where he just wasn't really too into how they handled his character. And dude, John, if you're watching this, or anyone that likes John, we weren't either. The fans really wanted John Boyega to be, Finn to be a Jedi in the film. He was a sort of like a it was almost like he went under a mind control or like snapped out of this mind control in The Force Awakens when they were pillaging the town on Jakku. So it's like with Lor Santeca and all that, and he was like, whoa, what's going on? It's almost like he snapped out of this sort of mind meld that he had going on. And as a stormtrooper, being force sensitive, like maybe he was a student of Luke's or something they could have written. I think that would have been so freaking cool. But unfortunately, of course, they didn't do that. So I'm thinking if he does come back in the film, he is really, I would say, the third most important character in the sequel trilogy. You got Rey, Kylo Ren, and then Finn. He was prominent. He was definitely, centerfold in The Force Awakens. And then they kind of like sidelined him, in 8 and then 9 too. But I feel like him coming back now, considering he has Force abilities, how did he have that? I don't know. Those will obviously be developed as the film goes on. And this is 15 years after Episode 9. So could we actually see the Finn we all thought that we would see, which is a Force-sensitive, pretty powerful Jedi? A lot of people were saying, oh, is this like Mace Windu's grandson or son or something like that? I think they could have really drawn out a very interesting storyline with a stormtrooper who was maybe pushed into the First Order or mind wiped, maybe originally captured from Luke's Jedi Temple, like Kylo took him or something, remembered him, went and found him, brought him into the First Order, questioned him as much as he could on the whereabouts of Luke or something, wiped his mind so that he wouldn't remember, and then just made him a stormtrooper. Like that. And then he starts to remember everything. Like, how cool of a story would that have been? I think that would have been so much more interesting, compelling, and overall entertaining to see compared to what we saw with him. So I hope he comes back to the films. I hope the Rey movie makes a lot of sequel fans happy. Personally, I don't want to see it, but I do want to see John Boyega get the respect he deserves going forwards with a cool character, and then not being reduced to literally, a bumbling idiot, basically, is what they turned him into. And I think that he has a lot more acting range than that. And I think the character had a lot of potential. So maybe they could divulge in that going forwards, and we'll see what really happens. Let me know what you think. Hopefully you're happy that John Boyega could be coming back. And if he watches this, dude, we want you back. Even though I don't like the sequels, I want you back in Star Wars. So, hope you guys have a great day, and may the Force be with you.